Okay, so in order to style our form, we need to link to our style sheet that we created earlier on in the course. So in our index file, within our head section, we simply add a link tag, then our href, then we find our style sheet. So it's located in the CSS folder and it's called styles.css. Then we add in our rel tag and we give this a value of style sheet. And that's all we need. So if we just save off the index file and then overwrite it, then we just refresh our page just to make sure everything's okay. Excellent. Now we just need to open our style sheet by heading to our CSS folder. And then we need to right click on the styles file and then choose edit. Now we can start to apply our styles to this page. So if we check our final page, we can see that all our content is central, and that our background color is blue, and that our text is white. So they're the things that we can concentrate on at the moment, so we'll add those styles in. So in our style sheet, we can add our contact ID that we set in our index file. So first we give our section a little bit of space with our padding property. So we add in 80 pixels and then 0. So this adds padding of 80 pixels to the top and bottom and then 0 to either side. Again, feel free to play with these numbers if you want a larger or smaller section. Then what we can do is change the background color with the background color property. And the blue hex color is 28536C. And again, feel free to choose whatever color you like. You don't have to stick to this theme. This is just giving you the ideas of what you can actually do. Then we can change the color of our text to white with the color property. Then we give that a white hex value, which is 3Fs. So if we just save that off, and then overwrite our file, and then refresh our page, we can see that those styles have been applied and the contact form is starting to look a lot better already, just with those styles applied. Now next we need to centrally align our header and our paragraph text. So again, in our style sheet, we can access the contact ID. Then we can add in our p tag, and we can add in our h1 tag to the same style here. This just saves us typing out the same style for each element. Then we just need to add our text align property in and give that a value of center. And again, if we just save that off and overwrite and then refresh our page, we can see that our header and paragraph text shift to the center of the screen. Now the last thing we need to do is change the style of our button. And we can see that we have the default styling at the moment. So what we can do is actually override this style in our styles. So we know that our default button size needs to be extended, and then we need to add a hover state. It is also a little close to our form above, so we can actually shift it down slightly just to make it look a lot cleaner and symmetrical, just so it's not too tight to the rest of the form. So in our style sheet, we need to access our contact ID again. Then we add in our button class, which is BTN secondary for Bootstrap 4 and BTN default if you're using Bootstrap 3. Now the first thing we need to add in is our padding. So I think that 4 pixels on the top and bottom and 60 pixels either side should be enough. Again, feel free to play with these numbers depending on how large or small you want your button. Then we can add in a margin just to shift the button down slightly, and a small value of 15 pixels should be enough. And then again, if we just save that off and overwrite, and then refresh, just to make sure it looks all okay, we can see the size of the button is okay, and like I said, feel free to shift the values if you want a bigger or smaller button. You can even adjust the text size if you like, but just around the edge of the button you should be able to see a small grey border, and I like to get rid of those round edges as well, so let's sort that now. So staying in our button style, we can add our border property, and the first value we add in is the thickness, so 1 pixel should be enough. Then we add in our style, which in our case will be solid. Then we add in the colour, so we can choose white here, again with the 3 Fs. Now to square off our button, we simply add in a border radius property, and we give this a value of 0. And again, just to make sure everything's okay, we save the file off, we overwrite, and then we refresh our page. So that looks like the initial state of the button is okay. We just need to sort out our hover state. So we need to give the button a dark blue background and white text. So let's head back to our style sheet and add those styles in. So we need to set a new style here. So we add in our contact ID. Then we add in the button secondary class in again. Now we need to add in our hover state here, which can be applied via a colon and the word hover after our class. So first we can change the font color. So we add in the color property and give that a hex value of white again. Then we need to change the background color, and we can do that with the background color property. And we'll give that the dark blue hex value, which is 081F3D. Then again, if we just save that off and then refresh our page, if we hover over our button, we can see that our hover state styles have been applied. Now that all looks okay at the moment, however the hover state just snaps back and forth between the states. It would be better if there was a smooth transition between the two, so that's really simple to add in, and we'll do that now. So back in our style sheet, we just need to add the transition property to each of the button states. So we start in our initial state, so we add the property in. Then we need to declare the time it takes for the transition to occur. So I think 0.3 seconds should be enough. And again, feel free to play with this number just to see what works best for you. So that will actually apply a transition to the button, but it will only be one way, which is when the user hovers away from the button. So to get it smooth both ways, all we need to do is add the same property into the hover state. That will give us a smooth transition when the user hovers on and off the button. So when that's all added in, if we just save that off, and then we refresh our page, and then we hover over our button, we can see that the smooth action has been added and it's visually better for the user. Now that's actually all the styles we need for our form. Now you can obviously add whatever styles or colour schemes that you like, especially if you're going to be adding this form to an already designed page. But what you've actually done is completed a fully functioning contact form and applied styles to it to make it look and feel a lot better than the default contact forms that are available. So what we'll do now is we'll just have a quick review of the final form, and we'll do that in the next lecture.